The weather had cooperated very well for the annual Bangor Brewer Veterans Day Parade. Several of us Patriot Guard riders met at a local coffee place in Bangor and rode to the main staging area in Brewer. I saw several bands arrive in two different high school ROTC units, all decked out, standing tall. There were, as usual, fire trucks and police cars and floats with the smiling faces of Brownies and Cub Scouts, Girl and Boy Scouts, all following in the footsteps of the patriotic leaders. I noted many military members and some grizzled old veterans of service long past. The Bangor Veterans Home bus was loaded with people who had spent their lives honoring the flag, who were now spending their last days with the same heart. The line began to move, and we filed the bikes in front, beside, and behind Larry's stretch Patriot Guard limo. A great arc painted with red, white, and blue and emblazoned with stars and stripes. And on the large side window are inscribed the names of Maine's war deaths since those wars have been taking place. It was a rolling memorial, and it is at most military funerals. We pulled out of the staging area onto the street and began the slow ride across the Veterans Memorial Bridge and down the main street in Bangor. Walking back and forth along the way were two bulldozers from the 60s carrying a faded sign that they periodically wave for us to see. War is not the answer. I smiled and thought, that's appropriate, that in a ceremony honoring those who fought for freedom, they can demonstrate. I also thought, not one of those veterans ever wanted war. When I asked myself, I wonder if it wouldn't be more advantageous to carry that sign where there actually is more danger of war. Maybe take it to the streets of Iraq or Iran and see if it wouldn't help bring the... How about go to Afghanistan or Pakistan and mount a protest where it would really do some good? But then I reminded myself that in those places, such protests would not be allowed. Those two dear, sweet, old, worn-out hippies would be bundled off to jail or worse. That would end that process. The reason why they can safely carry their signs to our street is because although war isn't the answer, at times it keeps the bad guys at bay long enough for all of us to sit down and find the answers. And this world is safer because, as George Orwell said it, rough men stand ready in the night to visit violence on those who would do us harm. So carry your signs, tell us what we already know. But on this day, please stop and ask yourself what would happen if those rough men had not gone to war against Hitler, or if those rough men had not stood in the gap many times over, countless decades, to preserve your freedom. And maybe, just maybe, you could set aside that sign just for a minute and say, though we do not want war, we are grateful that you have bought the privilege for us to say it in our land. A simple thanks goes a long way. Oh, and get a new sign. That one's really ragged.